Do I hear a second to the motion?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of such a accolade, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Thank you, Mr. Lewis, for your dedication and your hard work.
And before I present this to Gene, I know him as Gene, I would like him to comment on something we don't really know too much about. It's not mentioned in the proclamation, but Mr. Lewis is a very accomplished author, and I'd like him to talk a little bit about a book that he recently published, and maybe a few comments about the Fort Bragg Library and the dedication that we all attended 1 year ago, and how the library is progressing with, in terms of visitors and the usage of the library since it's been remodeled.
Thank you to the board and all of the lovely people. I am overwhelmed, to say the least. I'd like to say that I got my first library card 72 years ago, when I was 10 years old. And I have always realized that that has been an important step in personal development. And if you don't have a library card, you should go and get one. The other important thing is that you should be readers, all of you. You should read a book a week. And that's what the library is for. It has all these lovely books. But Kendall asked me to talk about the Fort Bragg Library. We've been open for a year, and would you believe it that the circulation exceeds the Ukiah main branch?
That's great.
Mendocino County has a very rich resource in its library system. Over 1/2 of the population has library cards, which is an extraordinary number. And we also have an enormous collection of books that are in demand all over California. They keep borrowing them. And it's very beneficial. For those of you that don't know, there is a state reimbursement for books that are borrowed by other counties. And we make a lot of money here from the books that are borrowed. Is it because we just have old collections that everyone else wants to look at? I don't know the answer to that. But we are on the plus side of that. It's an important part of the library budget. The Fort Bragg Library is not only a resource for reading and for books, but it's a repository for all of our human experience. And if we don't remember and reflect on what we have been, we're going to have to relive that again, as the poet said. I would like to also comment that Judith Kaiser, who is our current librarian, is an extremely busy person with all of this volume of traffic. In addition to that, there are wonderful children's programs being operated and important literacy programs, which is increasingly important in this community of ours. So the library is not only a collection of books, it is also computers, technology, literacy programs, children's programs, because the sooner you get children involved in the reading process, the better off we all are going to be. Thank you very much for your accolade. I don't think it's deserved, but... Oh, you wanted me to talk about my book?
Yes, I do.
I spent 33 years on a railroad as a construction engineer, as a civil engineer and a management consultant and one thing and another. It's all detailed in the book. But I decided that I would write this book. It's 982 pages of beautiful prose. It covers 33 years of when I started out as a young surveyor until the time I was involved in the development of the Wyoming coal fields in the first train ran in 1984. And I had a wonderful time on the railroad. It was a great experience. And I look back, and I still am working very much on new books and articles about the railroad. Once it gets into your blood, you can't get it out. The book is entitled 12,000 Days on the Northwestern Line, and I think there are copies in the library. And if it doesn't put you to sleep, it's a pretty good tale. Thank you.
Mr. Lewis, run away, we'd like to take some pictures, please.
Do I turn this around?
Yes.
How's that? Can I put it around? Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Kaiser, did you have any comments? I do. Please step forward.
Hello. On behalf of the Library Director, Melanie Lightbody, and myself, Judith Kaiser, the Fort Bragg Branch Manager, I would like to thank the Board of Supervisors for having the wisdom to recognize Eugene Lewis and his good works with this proclamation. When Mel asked me to speak on her behalf, I of course asked her for her thoughts on Gene, and she said she felt that the proclamation did indeed address all of Gene's attributes, and what she appreciated most about him was the quality of his leadership. It was an essential ingredient in all of the progress of the Library Advisory Board and the Fort Bragg Library. For myself, as a first-time public librarian, I couldn't have asked for a better teacher and a better leader. Gene is a genuinely positive individual. His sense of humor, as you have seen, and his striving to always move forward and not dwell on the past were always inspiring. He knows the power of compliments and cares enough about the people he works with to play to their strengths and remind them that they're valued. He is a superb mediator, and when negotiations call for it, as happened many times during the library remodel, he was able to come forth. Millions of meetings have gone by with Gene, and because of him, those meetings were always on time and purposeful. He could always segue the long-winded speaker onto the next subject without offending anyone. No one who was asked to speak at a meeting ever left unthanked by Gene. Gene's sense of mission was the real McCoy. These days it seems like we are asked to come up with mission statements that are often put on the wall and then forgotten. But Gene was instrumental in accomplishing the library mission to create a beautiful space for the community to find information and enjoy reading. I feel a special privilege in knowing him, as he is one of a very few true gentlemen that I have known. Webster gives gentleman various definitions, and the closest to Gene's gentlemanly persona is a civilized, well-mannered, sensitive, and well-educated man. That is Gene, but I would also add, with a sparkle in his eyes. I wish you well, Gene, and you now deserve lots of uncivilized, selfish, and perhaps even ill-mannered fun.
Thank you again, Mr. Lewis. I'll look forward to reading your book. Next item on the agenda is item 9B, proclamation declaring April 2008 as Children and Nature Awareness Month in Mendocino County. Sponsor is Supervisor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a topic that was brought forward to me by Penny Greenwood, and I believe Penny is here in the audience today to receive the award. And we have a few comments before we do that. The concept of children and nature is I think, a very compelling one and interesting one. And Penny and our local promotional groups, the Promotional Alliance and our lodging group on the coast, are really doing, I think, an excellent job of reaching into the concepts of geotourism and nature tourism and using it to promote the economy countywide. And they've done some research that I've read, is that when you really tie tourism to things like a sense of place, tourists stay longer and they spend more